It can be instructive to look closely at the details of letter forms. But type is usually used at such a small scale that these details become practically invisible. And what really defines the character, the look and the feel, the texture of a typeface in actual use is not its details, but it's some of the overall qualities of its stroke and its proportions. And these qualities are what typographers pay the most attention to when they're looking for type. So in this video, we're going to take a look at some of these qualities. The forms of the typographic alphabet emerged from a scribe's handwriting in the 15th century. So the lines that form our letters are often called and based on these calligraphic marks. In some typefaces, you can see this lineage quite clearly. In others, the stroke has been abstracted or at least rationalized to the point where it's no longer visibly evident that there's a human hand involved. Weight is the thickness of a stroke, and it varies between typefaces. It also can vary within a type's family. Stroke weight contributes to a type's color. This is how light or dark it appears in set text. Stroke modulation is how much the thickness of the stroke changes between parts of a letter. In traditional calligraphy, the brush pen is held at a constant angle, and as the letter is drawn, this will create thicker and thinner strokes. This is what creates a lot of the modulation within a letter form. In more mechanical typefaces, modulation is often really low, but our eyes are so accustomed to it that even these typefaces with little perceivable modulation are in actuality very subtly modulated. For instance, if we rotate the letter O in the typeface Futura, we see that the stroke is, in fact, thinner at the top than at the bottom. In text, typefaces with a more modulated stroke, like the one on the left, appear kind of sparkly on the page, and the unmodulated typefaces appear much more even. The modulation of a stroke implies that there's a tilt or an axis to a letter form. In calligraphic typefaces, this axis is usually angled, and in more mechanical typefaces, it tends to be vertical. In humanistic typefaces, strokes often end with a little wedge-shape formed called a serif. The presence or absence of a serif divides all typefaces into these two categories of serif or sans serif, sans from the French word meaning without. And these two type styles have quite different textures on the page. Some designers argue that a serif makes type easier to read by creating an imaginary line that guides your eyes along each of the lines of the text. And for this reason, serif typefaces are conventionally seen as more appropriate for large bodies of text. Besides qualities of stroke, the overall appearance of a typeface is also determined by its proportions. Some typefaces have narrow and tall condensed letter forms, while others may have squat and wide extended forms. The small-scale condensed type that you see on the left looks blocky and dense. Extended type, on the other hand, looks kind of airy. Another important proportion that might be roughly described as the size relationship between lowercase and uppercase letters. This is called the X height of a typeface. The X height is an imaginary line that defines the height of many of the lowercase letters. Typefaces with a large X height and proportionally larger lowercase letters, like this typeface, look bigger and more even on the page. Typefaces with a small X height with a proportionally smaller lowercase letters look smaller and more delicate. The typeface with the larger X height is the one on the left in this example. Taken all together, these overall qualities of proportion and stroke are what really give a typeface its particular appearance in a type size.